Hello there, and thank you for joining me. In this video, it's a slightly different one. I've done some of these before and I've really enjoyed doing them. I do quite a lot of demonstrating to clubs and art societies, and this was a painting that I had started at a demonstration. And I felt, as I often do, once you've sat and lived with a painting for a little while, that it needed one or two minor tweaks just to run over a few things, reiterate a few things. So I thought I'd show you with this particular painting exactly what I did. It doesn't take very long, it's just a very short video, but it's the little tweaks and changes that I made. Now let me just sort of go back to the beginning and explain the premise of the demonstration was working with some textures within the painting. It was also about loosening up with acrylic, trying not to be too defined. So we've got a few lost edges, we've got undefined marks, we've got these textures going across the paper. So it was just about sort of letting go a little bit. I also love the drips and dribbles that we've got at the front of the painting. And when I started this demonstration, I had a vague idea of where I was going to go and what I was going to do with it. But I didn't really know exactly what was going to happen. And that was the whole point of it, really. It was an idea, and I just wanted to soften a few things down, reiterate a few shadows and a few highlights, and just bring the whole thing together. So there's one or two places I felt needed a little work. And as ever, I started off there with the sky. Just quite often when I do a demonstration, the sky gets covered, but there's just a few little gaps and marks that aren't quite showing up. You can sometimes see a little bit of the paper through, but from the back of the room, that's fine. So when I get home, that's an area that I do work into. And there it was just coming on in a traditional sense, just starting from the background of the painting and just working forward and seeing what little bits I just wanted to do a little bit of work on, really. Just having a little play in the mountains, layering things up a little bit. It's very easy to get carried away, so it's kind of quite a sit on your hands moment to try and keep some of these things not too defined and go with the ethos of the loose landscape. Just playing with my blues and purples. Colours I'm using here on the mountains are most likely, it's a bit of muck off the palette, but it's also some ultramarine. I would have some burnt umber in there as well, possibly even a little bit of a magenta of some sort in there too. Just putting that little shadow over in the corner there, it kind of adds another hill in the distance. Trying to push layers in, so kind of putting a bit more shadow behind one layer of hill. Hopefully that makes the foreground layer of hill come towards us a little more. I'm trying very hard not to put too much detail towards the edge of this. I wanted to leave those sort of the edges very, very soft. And here I'm just pushing and pulling light. I've got that stand of trees on the foreground hillside, So I'm just trying to lighten behind it to make them stand out a little bit more. Then I kind of need to reiterate my river a little bit. Just tucking that shadow in down behind the river that's ended up coming out of my mountains. And you can see I'm holding the brush right at the very tip, and this again stops me being too fussy. I'm using the side of the brush, the tip of the brush. I just want to keep those marks nice and soft. Starting to add a little more definition on the water. A few highlights. I'll probably add a few more shadows too. And I've got this falls area where the water drops down a layer, so I need to make that a little bit more defined as well. We've got these textures in the water itself, so I might just turn those into more defined something. We'll come to that in a minute. Now, there isn't a right or a wrong. Generally they work dark to light and back to front, but if you've got light on your brush, don't waste it. So I was pushing the light down. I shall add some more shadows into this in a minute, but you know, there's not really a right or a wrong. Again, I've got to be careful not to take this too far to the edge of the painting. I want to keep all of my detail in the central area. So to make these look like two drops, I've added some dark, made those little patches of texture that I had on the paper. I'm making those into some rocks and making the water sort of flow around them. And here I've just got a damp brush and I'm just sort of pulling some of the paint around at times. Just a little bit more of that contrast, dark against light, light against dark, and giving you that sort of interest in the water. And not wanting to waste any colour on the brush, so I'm just adding a few more shadows in around the the riverbank as well. I felt that this area here looked a bit like we had some more rocks on the bank, and I just wanted to define it a little bit, but it's again just trying very hard not to over define it. I've got the areas of rocks next to the water, and I just wanted to kind of mirror that a little bit on this side. Again, it's just that push and pull of light, add a bit of light, add a bit of dark, come back with a bit more light until you kind of get a settle on an area that you feel comfortable with. And always there's those moments where you just need to sit and stare and see where you feel you want to go. Again, just seeing where you want to push some extra dark in, some extra light in. It's not a great deal here, it's just a very small amount. And there we have it, the finished painting, semi-abstract, very loose style of acrylic anyway, with lots of textures in the background. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one.